Hey everybody, this is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead. Today I have Mr. Terry with me, and we're out at number 2 watersheds in Talladega National Forest. And me and him has been talking back and forth a little bit about some things he has witnessed in his life, and he is at the point he feels comfortable enough telling it on film. I'm not going to have the camera on him. He doesn't want that, and I'm going to respect him on that. So y'all, please respect that too. And I might even get up and walk around a little bit and show y'all the scenery while he's talking, because these mics will pick up for, a little piece. I mean, I ain't going to go far, but you know what I'm saying. But that way, while you talking, right, I might be showing some of the scenery. Y'all can see the lake straight in front of me.
Pretty place.
I wish I'd brought my other stand with me, because then that thing would have been steady, but oh well. I've done this before, so it's too big of a deal. Well, me and you been knowing each other, what now? Going on a couple of years probably now?
Yeah, probably close to 4.
Yeah,
over 3 anyway.
I think we met at
Jonathan Odom's.
When he had one of the first meet and greets down at Hollins, wasn't it? Or did we meet up somewhere else?
I met you briefly, I think, the first time after I moved up here and I went to anything like that was at Hollins, but Jonathan Odom was having a thing there. Right. I went to it 2 years in a row. One year, I think you were in and out back and forth to work, and you sat up right beside me and Dale Boswell.
Yes, sir.
I think however long that's been.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, it's been, well, yeah.
It might have been just a little over 2, I'm not sure.
Well, no, I think you're about right, because Jonathan had 2 outings down there. Or did he have 3? I can't remember either.
I'm not sure. I went to 2.
Miss Blue Eyed could tell us if she was here. Her and Joe's been at every one of those. But been knowing Mr. Terry and his wife Carolyn for a while, and they're very good people. And of course, a lot of y'all have met him at the meet and greets and at the outings, and you know who he is. And he's kind of a quiet fella in some ways. He didn't never tell me about his encounter for a while, which I think that was where we just never got really a chance to sit and talk a minute about it.
That's right.
And because there was always a bunch of people around.
Yeah, even at your fire pits, there were always a lot of people.
Yeah, that's you and her have come to the fire pit a good many times, and I always enjoy Mr. Terry being around, and of course his friend Mr. Dale too, and so. Well, I know you where's it? Now you grew up here in Alabama, right?
Right.
And you was around the Montgomery area?
Yeah, born and raised in Montgomery up until I was, an adult. I actually got married and moved to Prattville, which is only about 10 miles above Montgomery.
Right.
Anyway.
There in Talker County.
Yeah, settled in there for a lot of years, and that's when I started actually going hunting and fishing and such as that. Childhood and school days, I didn't have a chance. I worked all the time. I had a mother and little brother to help take care of that kind of thing until he got grown and he was helping out, and then I cut out, Okay. So, but once I started hitting the woods in my early 20s, been nonstop,
Yes,
I love it.
So you've done a lot of mostly deer hunting, or just a little bit of it all?
Mostly deer hunting. 95% of it's probably deer hunting.
Okay.
I never really got into the turkey hunting. I just love the deer hunting so much. Yeah.
Okay. And fishing, just all kinds
of
fishing.
Yeah. If I wasn't fishing, I was hunting. Mostly bass fishing. I love the bass fish, and crappie.
Okay.
But I've done it all on the river now. In my younger days, I always had a bigger, comfortable boat, we would go at night and anchor and catfish a lot. during
Catfish
the
or
summer.
crappie fish at night and
But
stuff.
I had a smaller boat we would bass fish out of in the daytime and stuff. So I pretty well covered it back then.
Now, most time you was fishing the Alabama River?
Yes.
Ever go up in the Tallapoosa or the Coosa a little bit?
No, never did. I don't know either one of those rivers at all. There were a couple of huge creeks, year-round deep creeks that run into the Alabama River down in Lowndes County.
Right.
Penwater
Swamp
Creek and Catoma Creek.
Yeah, and Swamp Creek. And,
Yeah, fished a lot of those off the river.
Off the river.
Caught a lot of
yes.
bass and crappie in them in the spring. Yeah.
And down there is alligators.
Yeah, that sure is.
There at Miller's Ferry. And
Been down there a long time. We
Uh,
saw alligators down there probably 35 years
Yes,
ago in Penwater Creek. Yeah.
I stayed there at the Perry campground one time. There next to the dam at the Corps of Engineers dam, at Perry Creek.
Down toward Miller's Ferry.
Yes, sir.
Down there, yeah.
Yeah, I stayed there one time, and at night time took the light and shined out in the river, and I was looking at eyes everywhere.
That's right.
I said, Lord have mercy. I said, this ain't like the Coosa or the Tallapoosa,
Yeah.
which even though them two form the Alabama River, I guess we're a little further north enough to,
They seem to have worked their way from Mobile Bay all the way up, seemed
Yeah.
like. Because I lived in Mobile in the late 80s, about 5 years for a job. It was Mobile Bay and all them.
Oh, that's
down
heat
there.
up,
Oh,
wasn't it?
yeah. Like I say, you turn that light on, it's just eyes as
Yeah.
far as you can see.
yeah, you wasn't going to go swimming at night.
No.
But, so you pretty much got to hunt around, you hunted pretty much around the Montgomery, Lowndes County, Ottawa County area. Is that pretty much where you were hunting most of the
Yeah,
time?
99% of it. Yeah.
Okay. And,
Once in a while, I'd get an invite to one-day hunt in Barber, or a friend might have invited me down to a little place called Myrtlewood. That's Marengo County.
Marengo
A couple
County.
of times. I was in the National Guard, and I met some guys all over the state, and we would kind of take turns going home with each other once in a while, and
Go hunting or something.
yeah,
That's
hunting or
pretty
fishing. Yeah, so
That's cool.
but it was just a day here and a day there. But yeah, 99% of my hunting and fishing within the Tri-County area, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, Montgomery, Tolga, and Lowndes.
Yes, and I've got to hunt down there a lot. Got that cousin lives in Ottawa County, and he's originally from up here in Socauga, but he went to work down there at the paper mill
Oh yeah,
there at Prattville, and he moved down there, bought him a nice farm, and I've went down there hunting a lot of time, quail hunting and rabbit hunting
Right.
and stuff, and then but then when you was growing up, before we get into your encounter with what you pretty much sure was a booger, did you have any other things going on before then, like paranormal or anything that was just strange, or encounter or hear things in the woods while you were hunting before you seen that, or anything just out of the ordinary?
no. The situation was that my father died suddenly with a heart attack when I was 5. My little brother was 3. Mother was sick. My life pretty well consisted of going to school and helping her with the little brother and such as that. And she never remarried. She just devoted her life to raising us. And
Okay.
we didn't have the money for me to fish or hunt or anything. It was just,
Right, okay.
getting by. It wasn't until I was about 17 or 18. They had a high school thing back then. I think they called it the DO course, diversified occupation or something like that. They'd find you a job where you could work half a day. Go to school half a day and work half a day.
Right.
But things began to look up at that point. And within a couple of years, we got into a better standard of living. And
Okay.
I got married, and then the hunting and fishing took off like I was making up for lost time at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's unique about Mr. Terry's encounter is me and his encounter or sighting, his first sighting, my first sighting were very close together, even though they were. Now, what time of year did your sighting happen? It was in the 80s, right?
Yeah, somewhere around 84, 85, something like that.
Okay, so your sighting was anywhere from 20 to 23 years for mine, but in the same almost area.
Sounds like it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
'Cause what you described there, right off 80,
Right.
coming back toward north in them swamps there, and
Right.
I was over there off of Lounsboro Road, and came in on that south side, and came in there toward in there close to the railroad where I was at. But I think when I went back and looked at the map after you told me, I got to looking at that in there, and I said, Lord, his sighting wasn't but maybe a mile or two from mine.
Yeah.
So that tells us, even though Tal Banco stayed down there a lot investigating too, because he told me that place was eat up with them. And well, why don't you go ahead and tell us how that all happened that day, and what all you experienced, and take your time. We're not in no rush, and go into detail as much as you want to go into detail with it.
All right. At that time, I had a job where I earned sick leave, annual leave, vacation, and they were real easy going about how we used it. And I was just always one of these guys that did, and we didn't have any children for years, so I like to use my leave a day at a time, two at a time. We wasn't real big, even after I got married, we wasn't real big on the vacation thing. She loved to hunt and fish too. So we did it that way a lot. And I always tried to take off 3 or 4 days though during the rut, during deer season. And that's, in Alabama, they pretty much in a rut that last week. You got to, they're moving more.
Yeah.
And that way, if I didn't get a whole day or didn't have but a day, your chances seem better. So I look forward to that time of year. That year, we got extremely busy. They landed some big contract, and we just couldn't get off. And I was just chomping at the bit. It didn't look like I was going to get to hunt the rut at all, the last month even.
Right.
And finally, right there at the end, the supervisor, like on the spur of the moment, he had said, if you still want to go hunting, you take off tomorrow if you want to. And I said, yes, sir, I'd love to. I had already been down to Lowndes County management area a couple of times, and it was, I love going to a new place and pretty places down there, and I'd been seeing this swamp because I had a friend live down that way, close to the highway, and I always said, one of these days I'm going to go back around and come back in from the management area up toward that swamp and just walk in there because I like to stalk hunt anyway. And I had a hunting club and I had some friends back then, but the friends, it just didn't work out to where I didn't have a spur of the moment to hunt with them. They couldn't get off, whatever. And I said, well, I'll just go to this management area. That's what I'll do. And I did that. And but I didn't like tree stands that much, and and I loved to stalk hunt, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like in there because I didn't know exactly where I was going to end up. So I just took my shotgun. And it had been real cold, but it had warmed up a lot, 50s or 60s. So I just had blue jeans and a camo jacket on and plenty of orange. The management area, you got to have that orange vest and hat. But I wear a toboggan so I could roll it up and put it in my pocket if I wanted to when I sat down. So that's what I did. So it was lunch before I could cut out, and I went down there and I followed the dirt roads around to where that little green field I wanted to hunt behind. There was nobody there. The road went through the woods behind the green field a little ways and dead ended. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be back in there walking. No need me blocking off this food plot if somebody might want to come in behind me, and I'll go past it and I'll park in the middle of the road where they can't come all the way back and mess me up either. And so that's what I did. I drove in 100 yards out of sight of the green field back in the woods, and I just parked there in the road and I walked in. And that'll come into play later. And I started walking down the road till it ended, and I kept bearing left through the woods. And back then I kept a compass, and I was good enough with it not to get lost.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. And
oh man.
And I just kept working my way till I found a swamp and the water, and I walked along the edge of the water looking for like a peninsula or something going out in the swamp. Is what I always liked to find. I'd go out there as far as I could and sit down, and I always saw a lot of animals, deer and all. I couldn't find that, but I did run up on a little old sage field. Might have been 2 acres, tops, and it was kind of edge shaped, kind of a little oblong little sage field there, surrounded by thick woods and swamp. And I walked around it, and the only thing I saw that was encouraging was when I first started, I went back around, and from the road on the left side there was a swamp. It was on the left side, and there was a really huge oak tree there, and there was a path of some kind, looked like a deer trail coming out of the swamp at an angle. Like when I decided to sit down at the upper end of this sage field, it would be to my right, and it would be at an angle, kind of cutting through. It would come in about the middle of that little sage field, and it would go out to the lower corner at an angle. But there were no deer tracks in it. There was a couple of little tracks looked like maybe hogs. There were, a lot of hogs down there. Lowndes County management area. And I couldn't understand why this footpath was beat down to the mud. But, it ought to be eat up with some kind of hoops with all the, the deer and the hogs down there. But I said, whatever. So I decided to walk back up where the road stopped right there at the end of that sage field and just sat down against a tree and just wait a little while, rest a little bit, then I might get up and stalk hunt a little bit. But I'd only sit down about 10 minutes. I took my vest and toboggan off and sat on it. And there was some little brush around the base of this big tree, but it wasn't like preview. It didn't have any leaves on it, but it broke up my pattern, just sat behind them, and so I wouldn't be a solid sitting there. And I hadn't sit there 10 minutes, and I caught movement out to my left coming out of the swamp. There was something gray just moving in and out between trees and steadily coming toward that sage field. And my first thought is a deer. That was quick. I ain't been there 10 minutes,
Right. Especially the gray color too, yeah.
Yeah. And solid gray. And but I brought my shotgun because I wasn't planning. I didn't know what I wasn't planning on finding anywhere wide enough to need my scope or anything. So I couldn't scope it out. I just had to wait. And but when it got close enough to see, it's a man in a gray suit walking out of the swamp. And earlier that morning, there was probably ice around the edge of that swamp. And solid gray. And I'm thinking, man, this guy is crazy.
No orange on.
Yeah.
Last
week of deer season in Alabama on a wildlife management area, and he has no vest, no toboggan, and no gun.
Right.
And he walks out, but he's 100 yards at least. I can't make out any kind of facial definition or anything. Just looks like a guy in a gray ghillie suit. Only it wasn't real shaggy like that. But he came out and he walked behind that big tree and he stopped. And from coming out of the swamp to that tree wasn't but 10 steps, and he stopped and he must have stood there behind that tree. And I wore a watch back then, a wristwatch, 10 minutes. He finally stepped out forward, took about 3 steps out to the edge of that sage field, and he was staring down toward that corner. But when he stopped, he stopped and just his arms were straight down by his sides and reminded me of like boot camp in the military when you learn how to do attention and all that.
Right. He was standing
and he
still.
Stood there 5 solid minutes without moving. Not once did he shift his weight from one leg to the other. Never raised his arm to brush his hair or, pick at his ear, anything human would do, right? He was so still that whole 5 minutes that if I hadn't known it was something alive, he was standing out there in the woods, I would have probably thought it was just a tree stub broken off or something. And the gray was the color like the bark on a sweet gum, just almost identical.
That's something gonna blend in good.
Oh yeah, if he'd have been standing back there in the swamp with some broken timber, I'd have walked right by him.
Yeah.
Well, and then when he moved, he took a sharp left, took about 2 or 3 steps, stopped behind that tree again, and it's all over again. 5 minutes before he moves again. And all this time I'm thinking, I know this is not a human, but this is like 1985. It's before the internet and the Bigfoot groups and all this. I had seen the Patty film, but this don't look nothing like Patty. He wasn't tall enough to throw up a red flag. It wasn't wide enough for anything, but it just wasn't right, And then he walked back toward the swamp. Then he stood there like at attention, staring at the swamp 5 minutes, like he was waiting to meet somebody or something. I'm thinking, my mind was going the only place it could go. I mean, it was like this guy's either escaped from jail and stole a jumpsuit somewhere. He's looking for somebody to meet him, or he escaped from a mental ward. Who knows? I mean, he had to be crazy too. I said, whatever, I don't want to deal with him. So I was sitting real still and just waiting for him to leave, and I was just going to call it a day because I was pretty aggravated.
Right.
And because if I see him, I mean, he's going to want to ride. He's going to want me to take him somewhere. He's going to want a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of whiskey, you know. So, and I don't want to deal with him, right?
Yeah, right.
So, and then he repeated that scenario again. And then the next time he walked back toward the swamp, stood there a while. When he moved again, and never once did he raise his arms or turn at the waist or turn his head, nothing.
So he never looked at you?
No, never.
Like he never knew you was there?
Right, exactly.
That's weird too.
Every time he turned away from me.
But the sound like, and I'm picturing this in my head, he was doing like a hunter does, a stealthy hunter. He'd take him a few steps and he'd stand there a while and just be still. And a lot of people have got pictures of these things just standing by something and not moving, and it almost blends in. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah.
So you didn't smell anything?
Didn't smell anything. I didn't hear him coming up. I never heard him when he walked around. He never vocalized anything. So he was very stealthy.
Yeah. So he didn't make a racket.
Not a sound.
So he was able to move. So he was probably average height. In other words, he was probably in the 6 foot range, probably.
Yes, I'm thinking his height and his weight or nothing set off any red flags with me or anything.
Okay.
It just made my mind, of course, my mind's going 100 miles an hour. This is a guy. This is a man. These things don't exist, But yet I know I'm not looking at a man,
right.
know. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. He don't fit the Patty film I saw, but there's something going on here, and I just don't have any knowledge at this time. The last time we went back and he was standing there looking at the swamp, he just started walking and he just kind of disappeared in a few steps out in the swamp. I never heard anything and he was gone. I said, okay, well, and I'm pretty aggravated. I didn't think I was going to get off work, and I finally made it. Then all this is going on. This guy's messed up my afternoon because I didn't have it about 3 hours before dark anyway. And I started to get up and I said, you know what, maybe I'll give it about 10 minutes. So maybe he'll kick up some deer on the way through the swamp, run across this little clearing. So I waited about 10 more minutes and just fixed to get up, and I hear a pickup truck coming in from the way I came in. And it sounded like it turned and was coming up the road I parked on there. And then all of a sudden it just cut off through the woods, making all kind of racket, running over saplings and bushes and stuff, come roaring and bouncing down through there. And when he come out close to me, it was a game warden. 2 of them. And it was the ones I had seen before on it when I'd gone there before on a big hunt where you checked in at the station and they checked everything. Well, he jumped out kind of quick, and I'm really hot now. And they put the icing on the cake, So he jumped out, hey, how you doing? And I'd love to told him, but I couldn't. So
you stayed nice.
Yeah, he did this common courtesy thing and wanted to see my license, and then said, so you ain't seen no deer or nothing? I said, no, sir. He said, well, what about people or hunters? You seen any hunters? I said, well, no. I said, I did see a guy walked out of the swamp with a gray jumpsuit on. He said, what? Yeah. So he wanted to hear the whole story, which I went through. And by the time I got just about through, he said, all right, he kind of run and jumped in the truck. Same thing, right back through the woods and around my truck. And I pointed, he said, which way did he go? And I pointed at the angle he went back in where that trail was. And as they were leaving, I got up and was starting to walk back toward my truck. And, it's quiet and dirt roads. You can hear where a truck goes and stuff. They took a right and headed in that direction I pointed. And we were getting up. They were getting down that road pretty good. And I'm just about back to my truck by then, and I hear them stop real quick, right there in the road. I mean, you can tell they slow down and turn and pick up speed again. They stopped right there in the road. And I heard a couple of cars, truck doors. I was kind of curious, but I was so mad by then I didn't care. I just got in my truck and drove off. But I don't know if it was almost as if they were trying to see where he might have crossed at, and I don't know if they got a glimpse of something or saw a track. I didn't go that way.
Right.
I went the other way to get out, and I actually have never been back to Lowndes County. How that did it for me.
Right.
But I thought that was real strange. He seemed a lot more interested in what I'd seen anybody than he was about what I'd seen a deer or not.
Makes you wonder why.
Yeah. I mean, they left in a hurry and shot that way where I
wonder if other people have been experiencing something down there.
They have. We both had sightings right in there, and they're there every day.
Well, Mr. Towle told me the biologist that was over it then, I don't know if he's still the same guy or not, used to have a big weird last name. He had like a Polish or a Eastern Europe type name. I can't pronounce it.
I never met him anywhere.
I met him one time. He was actually a very nice guy. He's a heavy set guy like me, but he was kind of jolly, like he cut up with you. But Mr. Towle actually talked to him a few times, and he admitted he never did come out and say boogers or Bigfoot, but he did tell Mr. Towle, he said, I'm going to put it like this. He said, there is some things running around in this management area, and we've seen them. The people who live in the area, because there's a little community of Whitehall there.
Right.
And he said, them folks have seen them. And he said, we've had a lot of hunters see them. And that's the way he left it. But he wouldn't ever come out and say his boogers or Bigfoot. He just said there's something. And that there was a hunting club, and in 1993, you probably remember the Alabama Game and Fish magazine.
Yeah,
and
I do.
They had an article in there called Stalked in Dallas County. I don't know why they called it Dallas County, because actually all the stuff was from Lowndes County, but maybe they were trying to throw people off a little bit, exact location.
So. Yeah, it's kind of across the river.
Yeah, it's kind of across the river. But where this actually happened was in Benton, which is right next to Whitehall. They're right next to each other.
Between 80 and the management area there, yeah.
And the guy ended up one of the magazine reporters ended up talking to this guy. And, he described what he seen that day. He watched this thing kind of like you did. It come out of nowhere, and it was snapping its teeth, or what he said, making a snapping racket. He described it, which this one was more black colored, and it actually chased him out of the woods when he come out of the tree.
Wow.
And then it come to find out, Mr. Towle went and interviewed him, and they got in more depth about it. Come to find out, that hunting club, just about everybody in that hunting club had been experiencing some stuff. And I don't know if that club still exists nowadays or not. And but Mr. Towle, that's why he would go down there and stay at the Sportsman's Lodge right there, right off of the highway.
Right. The
he'd go
Jackie Bushman's place.
Yeah, he'd go stay there, and then he'd go visit folks in the community and go in the management area and go over on the river, and he found tons of stuff in there. And
I bet.
Of course, where I seen mine, we went and found sign too, and that's what I love to hear about this one, because it's right there. Yeah, 22, 23 years later, but pretty much in the same area. So that tells me there's a pretty good sized little group of them living down there.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years fishing the Alabama River, and quite a few miles of it is the Tri-County area, where it runs from above Prattville and a little place called Otagoville all the way down through Montgomery.
Yes, sir. You keep talking. I'm going to just stand up.
There is, now that I know so much more than I did back then, well, I knew nothing back then. There's just tons of stuff that's happened that all makes sense now.
Yes, sir.
But the Alabama River, I mean, it is chunk full. If there's not a city right there on the banks, there's gonna be boogers. I guarantee you that. I mean, they were just. Oh, I just no telling how many were around us down there in Lowndes County when I fished down there for years.
Well, you got to, Lowndes County management area, the state of Alabama bought that land from Lady Bird, Lyndon
Right.
Johnson's wife. That was her family's property. They had like 10,000 acres in there. In fact, I think that's where she grew up at. And then her, I think they had family land in Texas too or something. That's how she ended up in Texas.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you had told me here a few weeks ago about that.
Yeah, they actually were still farming it. I think her family was involved in the cotton farming.
Oh, there was a lot of cotton fields down there. Yeah, I remember. I didn't hunt there, but I knew some people years ago.
Right.
And before they bought it, sold it out. Oh yeah, just miles of cotton fields.
But so after you got back in the truck, you was hot under the collar. You done the dude in the coveralls done messed your day up, and then the game warden done come in there and messed you up. And as you drove home, what was going through your mind on that? What were you thinking?
At that time, I was young and a little hot-headed anyway. I was just so mad that my mind was pretty much still on that guy and them game wardens that ruined my day. I really wasn't thinking about much else until I cooled off.
Till you cooled off.
Now, later that night and for the next few days, it nearly drove me crazy trying to, what was that? I mean, these things are not supposed to exist.
Right.
And I kept rethinking about the game board, and I said, man,
he sure was interested in it.
Yeah, when he got out, it was the common courtesy, how you doing, see your license thing, but it's like he couldn't wait to ask me if I'd seen anybody, any hunters or anybody walking through the woods. And as soon as I did and pointed, he jumped in that truck and took off. So that estate, I've often wondered,
I just wonder if other hunters were reporting it.
Same day, maybe.
And they may have been thinking it was a human too, or some of them may have had a close enough encounter, because you said it's about 100 yards from you.
Yeah, he was down there a pretty good ways, and like I say, I carried my shotgun that day, so I didn't have a scope to
look at him.
Yeah. I wondered if maybe somebody had seen him cross the road coming into where I was at.
And called in, they come in there looking around.
And they saw my truck, come on back there to talk to me.
Right.
And then took off in a hurry. But I won't ever know, but it sure looked like it to me.
And if they had seen something, they wouldn't tell you.
No.
They would keep that quiet.
Absolutely.
They Now, I know we said a while ago probably about the average height of a man. Now, body built, was it kind of, I know 100 yards is kind of hard to tell, but was it kind of real lanky looking? Like he was like a track star or a basketball star?
Yeah.
Look? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
he wasn't built up like a football player,
no.
like a fullback or a linebacker. He was more like
he wasn't bulked up, didn't have no belly.
Okay.
Was kind of an average human build, around 6.5 foot at the most, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, more like basketball or track or something.
I know still at 100 yards, did his head look like cone shaped, or did it round just like me and yours?
It looked round to me.
Yeah. And it did.
It was round because he turned several times going back and forth, and I didn't see no cone. Yeah. And hey, sister.
Now, could you make out that was hair, or it did look like clothes from that distance?
I could not tell from that distance.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. 100 yards would be probably out yonder to that middle of that lake. So
yeah, it was a long way down there, and all right, sister. My mind, keep rehearsing this. The head looked to me like it had long hair. It wasn't the same consistency as the rest of the gray. It looked like he had a kind of long gray hair, probably.
Okay. Down like shoulder length or something?
Yeah. Okay. Just about, maybe shoulder length.
Well,
It might have been 75 yards, but it wasn't no less than that.
Right.
I'm thinking a good 100 probably.
was it that day? Was it sunny or cloudy or
It was overcast like today.
overcast?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Kind of like the same day I seen mine.
Huh.
It was kind of sunny.
Yeah.
Well, the sun was coming in and out. The clouds had come and
Exactly. That's the same,
Yeah.
just like today
Yeah.
it was going on there. But
it
the
wasn't
whole
really-
time I was watching him, it was overcast.
and that mine came from the swamp too.
Yeah.
But now I had deer in the field, 2 does feeding. And they kept stopping and looking back into the swamp behind me.
Yeah.
And on further behind the swamp was the railroad, because I was sitting there listening to the boys the railroad people switch the cars out. And too, you know, it's palm meadows all in there where I was at. And some of them was waist high.
Oh
And-
yeah, just they were all scattered through there
Yeah.
where I was at too. Once you got into the swamp there, I've often wondered. I mean, it looked to me like he was, like you kind of mentioned, it looked like he's part of a hunting party, and he was waiting for, like they were making. You know, when I was young, we would make drives without dogs, 2 or 3 of us. You know, and it looked like he was just kept staring that same way, like he was waiting for that other buddy or something, or other creature to come up from that way. And nobody ever came, and he finally just gave up and went back to the direction he came from. That's what it looked like to me.
And they may have been doing a little deer drive.
That's what it looked like, exactly what it looked like to me.
And he come up in there thinking a deer might come through, he might have a chance to grab or something. And I'm just surprised he never looked at you.
I know.
You would figure he would get a vibe, something was looking at him, and he would have caught that. But I've heard other people talk about watching walk by, and they'd never look at them. They just keep on trucking. You know, it's like they in another world that day, or they've let their defenses down or something, or he didn't care. He may have not cared, you know.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that. He was zoned in on the corner
Something
of that field. Just kept looking that same direction, waiting. He wasn't scanning around looking for deer like I was. He was just zoned in on looking straight down there. He never turned his head left or right, up or down or anything. And then when he would turn to go back and stand behind that big tree, he'd always turn to the left with his back to me. When he'd come out the backside and stare back the way he came from, and he went back to the tree, he'd turn right. He'd turn his back to me as he walked back behind that tree. He had the sense I was there. Eventually, might be why he left. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
he might not just wanted to be like
might have been a juvenile. At that distance, he didn't look very big, you know. Didn't look no bigger than I did. Of course, I didn't go back and try to find any measurements or estimate anything, but and I didn't move. I mean, I didn't bat an eye. You know, I didn't want to deal with it either way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Deal with a dude out running around in the woods or whatever you was looking at.
Right.
So, well, I appreciate you telling me that part. That's and I mean, you got a good 15 minutes of this.
It was, because I was watching it.
I mean, that's
on my
pretty
watch.
good. Most people do not get that long. Usually it's a minute or two. I mean, like mine was maybe 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, he paid peekaboo about twice, and boom, he was out of there. And so
Yeah,
that's pretty cool to be sit there and watch
yeah.
that for at least, you know, that amount of time.
Yeah, now that I put it all together, I've thought about it a lot over the years, and there's just no man would ever stand at attention in the middle of the woods, not turn his head or move a hand, an arm for 5 minutes at a time. I mean, there's just no reason to. Why would you? I mean, if nobody making you stand there like that, we just don't do that.
No, sir.
I mean, if I stand somewhere looking, I'm going to be shifting my weight from one leg to the other once in a while, or running my hand through my hair, or pulling at my beard or something, you know.
Right.
He didn't do nothing. I mean, 5 minutes by my watch, 5 minutes, that's a long time. And I was watching, because I was wanting him to leave so I could hunt. I'm thinking, boy, he needs to get on out of here. You know, it's going to get dark on me. And I'm steadily watching him. I thought a time or two about my finally just getting up, walking out, hoping he didn't holler at me and follow me or something. But something just said, no, just stay sitting here, don't move, you know. And
Yeah.
I just went with my
That may have been the
gut
best thing.
feeling on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, if he'd have screamed and run toward me or something, I don't know what I'd done. I mean, who knows? I'm
Right.
glad I didn't have to make a decision.
Right, I understand that one. Well, that's a good Class A sighting, and I mean, most folks do not get 10, 15, 20 minutes to sit there and watch one do that back and forth. That don't happen much, and coming from an area that's full of boogers, I mean, there's report after report after report from that place, and even one that made a magazine. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that reporter, for him to go write that article on that had to be something that really caught his attention, and there was stuff that had to be backing that up somewhere.
Had to be.
Yeah. Well, I know you was telling me too that when you was belonged to a hunting club, then this hunting club was in what county was it in?
Yeah, it was in Stalked County. It was on, I guess, the other side of the river, or was it? Anyway, it was many miles away, but it's still
Over
on
toward
Alabama.
Toggleville. Back
Yeah,
in
it
there.
was right outside of Toggleville, about 10 miles above Prattville there. It's a lot of miles by river from where the Lowndes County was.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like I say, I like to take a day here and a day there, and I especially like to do it during the week when other people are at work, because I love to stalk hunt, and I like to get out there and relax and move through the woods. And I'd actually gotten, pretty good at it, because I really enjoyed it. And even back then, this was still in the 80s, a couple of years either before or after my sighting, I really don't remember. That's been a long time. But even back then, we were leasing paper mill land from that paper mill at Prattville there where your buddy worked, know.
Union Camp. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a couple of thousand acres. And the bottom end of it, the border of the bottom piece of that tract was Swift Creek that went through Toggleville and into the Alabama River. And it had about 10, 15 acres of swampland there. And of course, that's straight where I went. Every time I hunted, I signed out for that bottom tract, And back then, back when the hunting clubs were becoming a thing, we had to sign in and out box, and they had a colored map of you signed in for your section for the day. And they were pretty big tracts. They were, 15, 20 acres, some of them, and we had work days like y'all do, where you plant your field and put up ladder stands and stuff. Ladder stands were a big deal back then.
Yeah, ladder stand's a big thing.
And
tell you.
there was a ladder stand at that, overlooking that. The last thing they cut was down by the swamp. They cleared out some sweet gums and I guess odds and ends of stuff for paper, which didn't have to be, didn't have to be oak or hickory or anything. They'd use anything for that to make paper with. And it had not grown back up yet. There was probably 5 acres of mud between there and the swamp, where they went far as they could with the skidders and stuff without getting stuck, and they had to pull out. But that's where I hunted. That little ladder stand faced that muddy strip in the swamp, and about 100 yards into the swamp was Swift Creek, which was the bottom line for it. And every day, now I wasn't really sure where I was hearing. I look back on it now, and that place was eat up with boogers. I was in that club at least 2 years, and I hunted at least a day a week, couple of days a week through most of the season, especially the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I would always park up by the box, the sign-in box, like a lot of us did, and because that section pretty much you only went through a corner of somebody else's section, but I'd usually go in the evenings and there wouldn't be anybody there, and I would just leave my truck there and cut that corner. The rest of the way I was on my sign-out part anyway. Old logging road, and it's pine trees, and you can walk so quiet with them pine needles and all down to that tree stand. Well, every time for 2 years, when I'd get just about inside of that tree stand out here, something sounded like Babe Ruth knocking a home run out of that swamp. Bang, a big hard knock. And the time I'd get up in the ladder stand and sit down, I'd hear another couple of knocks, and then I'd hear knock over yonder, and then it would quieten down. And then when I would get down right at dark to leave, I'd hear another knock. Then sometimes halfway to the truck, I might hear another one, but don't think them pine trees knock good like them hardwoods do, but you know, there's always a
Right.
always a scraggly sweet gum or oak tree that didn't get cut,
Right.
and you get it within hearing distance of one of them. I'd hear one walking back to my truck. Today, I'm thinking, you know, they were letting the others know there's a hunter here today. He's in my section and he's walking back to his truck and that kind of thing. And then, but I never saw anything. I used to hear the howls late in the evenings before, you know, right at dark, hear an occasional whoop. But no matter who I talked, no matter who I talked to, they were just stuck on the whoops are whooping cranes and the knocks are and the howls are coyotes, and nobody wanted to talk about it. And so I just didn't. But I went in one evening about the last week of the season. The rut was in. I was kind of excited to get in there to my stand. Nobody was there but me. It's like on a Wednesday, and I got about halfway down to the tree stand, and I'm easing along there, and I always walk slow because I'm hunting all the way to the tree stand. I'm taking a few steps and stopping and looking around, and I began to notice that something was coming over my shoulder and bouncing in the logging road in front of me. And I get down and I look, and it's acorns. I look around, I can't see a hardwood as far as I can see. I'm in a pine plantation. It's a hunting club, leased for Union County paper mill. It's pine trees. So I look around, I thought that was pretty odd, but that's back in the 80s. I had nothing to base it on. Well, I went on a few more steps, and then there's like acorns and little twigs, and no matter how fast I turned around, I couldn't catch a glimpse of anybody. Well, I'm the only one there, so I just start talking to them. I'm convinced one of the guys is trying to play a trick on me, and I'm trying to tell him it's not funny. It's the last week of the season. I'm down here to hunt. We can play later, you know. Nobody would answer. I'd go on a little way, and it started again. Little twigs and rocks and little acorns coming over my shoulder. And there was a little bit of scrubby brush on the sides of the logging road, but it was very little. And the little scrubby bushes that were there didn't have any leaves on them. And then there were large areas that it wasn't even a scrubby bush. It was just, they were old pines. They were past due to be cut, and they're just totally shade and didn't like grow there, you know. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't see somebody messing with me. But I finally said, look, you know, I decided it was a poacher, and I said, look, I don't know what your problem is, but I'm in here to hunt. You're trespassing. You need to get on out of here. You already got me in a bad mood. I should already be to my stand. If you leave now, I'll drop it. I went on, it started again. And I got mad then. I said, all right. And so the next little acorn that came over my shoulder, I just took a left, and I did everything I know better than to do now. I charged through what little brush there was with my gun, looking left and right as fast as I could to catch somebody on their knees or belly or anything. I couldn't find anybody or bush moving or nothing. Walked that area out, and I'm really baffled at this point. And, well, I left out an important part. As soon as I charged in there, this side was level to my left, but the right hand of the logging road went straight up a hill, pretty steep hill. As soon as I charged in there, a big tree came down, cracking and popping, and limbs, you know, flying everywhere. And by the time that settled, something came running down that hill, a bluff charge, sounded like a tractor or something coming down through there, or a truck. It scared me bad, and I still couldn't see nothing. I started backing out then, started backing up toward my truck. I have no idea what's doing any of this, you know, really. But something in me said, you know, you just need to go back to the truck. So, but don't run. And I kept staring where the bluff charge stopped at, and the other side where acorns kept coming from. And I stood there a minute, and it was quiet. So then I started walking back toward my truck, and I heard the crunching on both sides of me this time. The side where the acorns were coming from sounded about like a human being, you know, about the weight of a human walking through there. But the other side sounded huge. Thousands of pounds, sound huge. When it would walk, and I could feel the footsteps under my feet, the ground vibrating. but I can't see anything, no matter how hard I try. But and no matter how quick, when I would stop real quick, each one would take one more step, which we've all heard that from other people for years. But yet I can't see anything. But what I began to realize as I was walking back to my truck, that they were closing in on me. They started out 10, 15 yards off the logging road, but the time I got halfway to the truck, they had moved in to real close to me. And I got to really getting worried then where the part of the truck was like where the road teed at. So when I got right to the top of the hill, I was going to have to walk across that little clearing to my truck, get my keys out and get in. And I don't know why my mind went there, but I got to having these pictures of cats playing with their prey before they kill it. You know, I've watched so many cats from my tree stand, feral cats that people let loose and stuff. They'll play and toy with a little bird or chipmunk or whatever until they finally kill it. Then they'll walk off and look for something else to toy with till they kill it. And I'm thinking, man, I'm beginning to feel like whatever this is toying with me, getting a little closer and stopping when I do. Are they gonna rush me when I get to the top of the hill and they realize I'm fixing to get away? That was going on in my head. So I was pretty scared the time I got to the top there. But right there where the woods stopped, right there where I could see my truck, they stopped and they didn't move again. And I went to my truck and I was pretty shook up. I was shaking. I had trouble getting my key in there. I got in, I got my truck, and I got turned around, and I'm still not seeing anything. I didn't hear them again. I took off down the hill only about 100 miles to the gate. Then I remembered, you know, club rules lock the gate behind you. So you got to get out. I got to unlock the gate.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And
then
I
had
that
to,
rule some days myself.
yeah. I said, I know they come follow my truck down here, you know, and I'm really worried. And then I had to get back out and lock the gate. And I was pretty scared. I don't mind admitting it. I never saw anything. That was really strange. I didn't know what to think about it until the internet came out and all the Bigfoot groups, and I was able to meet people and talk to other people, and I found out so many of us have had that exact thing happen to them over and over, you know. Right. And what I did was I rushed a little one, and Mama was on the hill and pushed that tree down. There ain't no doubt in my mind what happened now. I'm probably lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
You know, I would never do that now.
That was very intense. In fact, I would say that was a lot more intense than your first encounter. I mean, the first one, you thought you was looking at a man, so fear didn't come in too good. That's like when I was kept playing peekaboo with me that day. You know, I wasn't scared at first. I thought I was fooling with somebody crazy, you know, and then I realized, wait a minute, you know, I'm not.
That's right.
You know, and
there's something going on here, and I don't know what it is, but it's not somebody.
Well, did you hunt down there anymore, or did you call it quits there?
No, I kept on hunting. I'm trying to remember if I went back by myself after that, because there was only a few days left, though, because that was the last week that happened. You know what? That was the second year. I'm pretty sure we lost that lease the next year. I did go back the next couple of days, but I was very nervous.
Right.
I was real nervous.
Did you hear anything in the last few days?
Same thing. Well, I heard the knocks when I got down there, and the first knock I heard, though, was it was rapid fire, about 5 or 6, just as fast as you could hit, and it was like a machine gun going off on a tree. That was strange. And I didn't stay but a few minutes. I think, you know, I didn't feel comfortable. I went ahead and left. And the next day, I think the wife went with me, and maybe another couple we knew. There were several of us that went the next day. And then we didn't get that lease back because they cut the timber. They were scheduled to cut them pines the next year.
Okay.
That's what it was. But we had a camp on Pentlotta Creek that runs into the Alabama River down in Lowndes County for 25 years probably, where we camped out down there, and it was nonstop howls and whoops and all kinds of stuff going on, and probably 30 of us were members, and you know, of that little group and all. It wasn't a hunting club. That was just a getaway place and a fishing club thing, you know, there. But I couldn't find one man in 25 years that would even talk to me about the possibility of any of that being anything but a whooping crane or a coyote. Wouldn't I? You know, I just got so frustrated, and man, the internet coming out with these, you know, the channels and all, has been just setting me free, man. I said I was right. I wasn't crazy, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you was willing to tell me, and I'm glad you was willing to let everybody else hear it too through the video, and because the more and more of us that come out and talk about it in the open, lets other people know, hey, I can talk about it without being made feel like I'm crazy or you know, or any of that. And
yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is. And it is a good feeling to be around people that actually listen to you. And I'm going to tell you, that your last one, that's very intense, boy. That was hair raising there, buddy. I mean,
I really thought that whatever this extremely powerful paranormal event was going on around me, I was really afraid that something bad was going to happen when I stepped out of the logging road. You know, it was the trees hanging over both sides over it and brush, but
right.
The T of that road was a wide dirt road, and I had to cross that and get in my truck. I really, really worried about something happening before I could get in that truck. Because about halfway back, I began to realize that they were slowly squeeze playing me in. They were real close to me by the time I got to where I could see my truck.
And you not seeing them, that's what's very odd.
Oh, man, it drives me nuts, yeah.
I wonder if how they were blending in with the surrounding that easy, or were they cloaking, or what they were doing. But I'm not going to say the cloaking don't exist, because I've got friends that's sit there and witnessed it. And well, you heard Greg talk about his, you know, he kept waiting on that thing to cross the road, and he said it never crossed the road, but it was over here all of a sudden. He said there's no way it could have got around him. So how did it cross that road on him, you know? And
there's absolutely no doubt in my mind.
I'm going to stand up another minute.
You
fine.
Yeah, I am myself. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that at least some of them are capable of becoming invisible. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. From all experience I've had. And I'm like, you know, Kumbo and some others. I think there's some different types, just like the different kinds of people, cultures and stuff. But I know they're flesh and blood at times, but some of them, there wasn't enough underbrush
for anything to hide in
to cloak.
Ain't nothing like that right there. That's pretty rolled up. Something can be right there pretty easy.
Yeah, it was like this right here.
Yeah, open like in here.
Yeah, just pretty much, it's just open.
Yeah, I just...
There's just nowhere for them to hide, and that's what was really, you know, making me so nervous. How can I not see something that's so heavy that I feel the vibration under my feet as it's walking?
Right.
And I got a smaller one on the other side of me. Still throwing an acorn once in a while, and there's not even any oak trees around here, you know. And
what was, you know, you're thinking in your head, where's it getting acorns? Is it toting a bunch of them in its hand, or
there's so much going on,
or do they have a pouch or something on them they can put stuff in?
You gotta wonder.
Yeah, something they don't. I've heard other people talk about that before, and I go, these sun guns got some kind of extra skin on them? They can build like a little pouch or something on them, or?
Yeah, we just don't know.
No, sir, we don't. We learning.
They won't stop and talk to us.
No, they won't stop and talk to us. And that walk around a minute, let everybody see the scenery a minute.
Yeah.
You never tell what me and you might have sitting here with us.
There ain't no telling.
One of these folks watching the video might catch it for us. There was a big racket right over here a while ago. I don't know what that racket.
Yeah, I saw your eyes light up the same time mine did, and something happened up behind me. Over there.
Something up that hill did too. Yeah, but something was right in there a while ago.
Yeah. And other than that, it's real quiet here.
Yeah, it is. I want to come camp here.
Well, I'll sure meet you over here.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Just let me know.
Bring my flat bottom and do some fishing.
Yeah, I've had a lot of strange things that happened over the years, and it all adds up now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I hunted a few times down in Barber County at a friend's private property, and it was just so far to go. And back then I had several good places, to hunt. But this has been, I've heard other people talk about as well. I very seldom hunt out of a tree stand, but I hunted out of a ladder stand that day, and I shot a little old buck just before dark, and I shot him up high. He was so close, so I wouldn't mess up the guts or anything. Shot him up,
Right.
Above the shoulder out there where that spinal column starts to kind of curve, where they'll drop right there. And I just, I field dressed him right there, and I took my time, and I didn't bust anything. So the gut pile was totally intact. It wasn't leaking anything anywhere. It was just, just a gut pile,
Right.
like a big blob of jelly. The next day I came back to that same ladder stand, and it was gone. The coons,
Coats, all
anything, nothing got into it because everybody scattered all over the edge of that field if they had. It was like something with the hands just picked it straight up and walked off with it.
PJ talked about that.
Right. Several people I've talked to have had that happen. Yeah.
She talked about her and Paul, had something just like it picked up everything and left with it.
Yeah, and I saw that video just a few nights ago. It's the reason it's on my mind, probably. Right. I saw her, and her video the other night.
Yeah, she, I remember her talking about that. And well, did you ever come across any other strange stuff in the woods, or have you seen the tree bows before, the X markers and that type of stuff? And
yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Most anywhere up and down the Alabama River or some major creek, deep running year-round creek that feeds the Alabama River. If you get up there and look around a little bit, you're just about guaranteed to see something. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind there's probably more boogers on the Alabama River concentrated anywhere I can think of or ever been or ever talked to anybody about. We were fishing one day in a flat bottom boat, me and my buddy. We put in at Catoma Creek above where we camped at, and we would check the generation schedules, knew they were pulling a little water, and we were just going to drift. That's called. I like to sit on the front with a sculling paddle and keep that little boat straight because the current's running and not any work to it.
Right.
We going along there, casting the bank, bass fishing, and there's a little island before you get to the next creek that we turn up to go, load the, we bring the trailer around to another boat ramp, right? And we drifted around it. Now, the Alabama River was, it's always half a mile across down there anywhere, just about. Yeah. But the island, when you went around it, was only, at the very most 20 yards wide, maybe. Right. I mean, you could cast the bank of the island and the bank or the main land over there. Either way you wanted to turn in the boat, you could reach either bank.
Right.
We're drifting along there, and this island is maybe a couple acres tops. All of a sudden, I threw over there, and I hung up or something, and I snatched a time or two and let a few words fly probably. And when I did, that little island just exploded. It sounded like the Birmingham Zoo at the Monkey Island. All kind of ooh-oohs and ah-ahs and screaming and screeching and running around and big thumps of things jumping out of trees. And I heard the chest rumbling and beating and growls and my buddy said, man, what in the world's going on there? And he's just laughing and shaking his head. Said, I don't know, just keep fishing. He could have cared less. I just can't believe that I never knew anybody that had any curiosity about anything. And they were smart people, Right. They just didn't, it just wasn't an option to even talk about it. Now, there's no doubt that we slipped up on them, just even along there with the current, no motor running, not even trolling motor. We just drifted around there, and all of a sudden, maybe they were napping in the middle of the day or something. And when I hung up and let a couple of words fly, it woke them up, I guess. Oh yeah, they were throwing stuff in the water behind the boat and all kind of stuff.
Wow.
I mean, there's always something going on. It all adds up.
Now, is that island in a pretty remote area?
Yeah, it was down in Lowndes County. It was nothing but farmland.
On both sides of the river there,
for several miles. Yeah, several miles. Yeah,
they had them a good place to get out in the river during the daytime.
Absolutely. Yeah,
they can see anything coming up. Now, the barges come through right there. Or okay, they do come through right there. Yeah, because they got that little dock there in Montgomery.
Yeah.
That steamboat, when they used that steamboat come all the way down there? Or is it?
I'm not sure where it goes now.
Okay.
It used to go up the other way past Maxwell Air Force Base and turn around up the other way.
Go up toward the Coosa and Tallapoosa up in there? Okay.
Yeah, I think. But I don't. I think it kind of changes its direction once in a while. But it wouldn't have took it too far to go down there and turn around.
Yeah. I was just wondering if it go down toward Miller's Ferry any.
It don't go very far.
Right.
No, he don't. I mean, I've never been on it, but I've talked to people that have, and they said you really don't get out of you can see the lights in Montgomery when he turns around. He never gets very far down there,
okay.
you know. We were looking for a new place to a level spot to put up tents and all, because so many people were starting to camp with us and going out on the river and camping on the sandbars and stuff. And it was a big deal, families and all. People were even coming up with pontoons with lawnmowers to cut the grass and everything on these little sandbars and islands out there to enjoy the weekends and all. And we were looking for a new spot, and we were right there where I could almost see right around the curve to where that riverboat parks at in Montgomery. And we were right there at the mill where they drop that corn onto them barges.
Right.
We used to carp fish in there, because that little old canal is full of carp eating that corn, you know, and catfish.
Right.
Well, right there on that little sandbar, the water was down a little bit. Normal, it's about as wide as a double sidewalk where you walk along there between the tree line and the water. We're looking for a flat spot somewhere. And there's a stack of mussel shells almost to my knee. And every single one of them was shiny clean, where something had sat there and eat them and stacked them up into a perfect teepee. I thought that was very interesting. And I sat there and looked at that, and I said, I don't see no way this thing is standing up without sliding apart, you know. And we fished with them. We used to fish with them. We had places we could wade out in the river and find them with our toes and stuff. And just to see if I could do it there for the next couple of years, I tried to stack them shells. I could not do it, because they were all in halves. I mean, they were broken in half and cleaned out, and they were just halves stacked all
You see
kind
any footprints or anything in that area?
Not a footprint, but I'm thinking this creature has sat here watching the lights of Montgomery, eat every one of them, stacked them up, and walked back in the woods and disappeared, I guess.
Well, Miss Bama done a video. I think she was on that steamboat right there in Montgomery. I may be wrong, and if she listens to this, maybe she'll correct me if I am wrong, but I think her and her kids and family went riding on the steamboat, and she was either videoing or taking pictures, and I tell you, right there on the banks of the river, it looked like she got a picture of a booger. I mean, he's just standing up there looking at the steamboat going down the river. And I think she either got it on video or she got it a picture.
I guarantee you she did, because people just wasn't looking all these years.
Right.
They were there. I mean, this whole island exploding was like a zoo there. I mean, I was always hearing something jump up and go crashing through the woods, because I fished a lot with the current, because you didn't have to run your motor or anything, and I like just sitting up there, like I say, sculling. So you just ease around a curve quiet. If you're not talking to your buddy or you're by yourself, you can slip up on a lot of stuff, slipped up on a lot of deer like that,
Right.
And there's a lot of things went crashing out through the woods that was too big for that part of Alabama, because back then they were said there absolutely were not bear down that far at that time. And but the deer was supposed to have been the biggest thing in the woods. And that's what I've out here crashing too. That was a lot bigger. It wasn't cows, because it was 100 times faster than a cow. It was just like it was shot out of a cannon through there, and gone. And like I say, they would come right up to the campfires on the other side of the creek with them whoops and howls, and they just knew that we wasn't aware of them. They'd whoop right around the edge of the field across the creek, and the creek wasn't 15 yards wide right there. And it would be so loud, it would vibrate in your chest. The whoops would be so loud, like it was in a speaker,
It sounds like you've had a lot of stuff happen in the year. If you've kept this quiet from us a little bit.
Well, we just, like I say, I've come to a few, fire pits and all, but there's always so many people talking.
Yeah, it's hard to talk
couldn't
like
get to you. And
yeah.
when I had a day you didn't, and Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I could go on with little bits and pieces that come to me later. Maybe we can talk another
We
day.
will. I don't want to wear you
Yeah.
out today, and I know
Yeah, there were a lot of these little flashes of things that were unexplainable, you know.
you probably need to get back to Miss Carolyn here in a little bit, and
Yeah, she'll be all right right now. I'll check on her here in a few minutes. Yeah.
I don't want to wear you out either. And if you have stuff,
I do have one more thing I'll
right.
mention to you. Where this creek fed the Alabama River was at the end of a huge field that wasn't really used for crops anymore, just pasture. And the bank was maybe straight up 10 yards or something, but used to be an Indian village evidently site right there. And over the years, you know, your spring floods and stuff wash away the bank a little bit, and it was a good place to find arrowheads. So we pulled in there one day, and I was tired. We'd been camping out all night on the river, you know, and it was hot, and mosquitoes biting us all night. And, you know, we was trying to get back to the truck and go get something to eat. But the three of us, one buddy of mine, he just really wanted to stop here. I just want to look real quick. I think that perfect arrowhead is just waiting for me there, you know. And he eased up in the flat bar. He jumps out and he goes up there, and all of a sudden he says, he hollers, "Monkey." I said, "What?" He said, "There's a monkey up here." I said, "There's no monkey standing there, Mike." He said, "I'm looking at him. Y'all come over here." I said, "What do you mean? You sure you're not looking at a fox squirrel or something?" "No." He said, "It's a monkey." He said, "He run up that tree and he's in the fork up there." He said, "He's got a face." And but the sun was coming straight at us, and I never could see him. But I never saw him, and we went on and left because we walked round and round trying to look up there, and we couldn't see it. And no doubt in my mind what he saw.
Saw a baby booger.
Little baby booger.
Yeah. Went shinnying up the tree.
Yeah.
Sitting there probably watching y'all.
Yeah, he said it's got a face, just like me and you. And he's a little like a little boy, you know. But the Alabama River, I mean, that's...
Well, I'm planning on going to Lowndes sometime in January. I'm hoping me and Rebecca's going to go camp, and I'm going to probably try to hunt. But I want to go in there and go back to that field where I seen that one. And I want to hunt that field again and just be listening. I know it's going to be changed a lot since 2007.
Yeah.
And when you seen the gray one was late January, wasn't it?
Right, last week of hunting season.
Yeah, right there where I did too. Mine was right. I don't forgot the exact date. I got it wrote down, but
yeah, I think we had 3 days left. I'm thinking.
So it's right there in the same time period. Yeah. Me and your sighting was within a mile and a half of each other. 22, 23 years later. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, really interesting.
Well, it sounds like you've got you a good full taste of the boogers over the years in different places, and
yeah, especially the Alabama River.
Yeah,
and it was rural down there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're just miles of just huge cotton fields and pasture land.
That's it, and creeks and
yeah.
swamps, and most people live together in little communities where they're at. And
yeah,
I mean, you might see a house every now and then out by itself, but not much.
It wasn't enough to put any pressure on them.
Right. Yeah.
They were pretty comfortable down there. I just hate so bad I didn't realize it. There's no telling how many sightings I could have gotten or photographs and stuff, because they wasn't afraid of us back then. They knew we didn't know they were there. They just knew it.
Yeah, they didn't care.
They come right up to us. Yeah,
they didn't care. Well, I mean, you know that story where that guy in the magazine, you know, that booger, when he come down that tree stand to get out of that tree stand, here come that booger, and it chased him.
Well,
he could hear it behind him. He said it run him all the way to the truck. And then when it got out into that big hayfield, it stayed in the woods. But you know, I had one do me that way on hunting club. You know, he didn't run behind me; he walked behind me.
Well, I didn't know that.
Kind of like you had that happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty unnerving after a while.
Yeah.
Especially when you can't see it.
He wasn't far behind me. The coon dog kept turning, looking at him, growling.
Yeah, and every time you stop, he stopped.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
You might catch him where he make one more step.
I think he wasn't really going to fool with me. I think he was just trying to buffalo me. I think that's what he was trying to do. But I may be wrong, because I think if he wanted me, he got me. You know?
Oh, yeah. They could have got us anytime they wanted to.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get back down there on the Alabama River and camp on one of them sandbars one night, but I probably won't never make it. But I guarantee you.
We'll get ready to go to camp at Lowndes if it's where you can go.
Oh, yeah. I'd
You're
love
more
to.
than welcome to go with me and Rebecca. And
I guarantee you're gonna hear some howls at night on the river.
yeah, we get at Perry Creek, and then they got a nice hunter's camp over in that pecan orchard. You know, going in there toward battle holy ground. You know where the battle was.
Yeah, I know about where the holy ground is, but I didn't know they had any kind of campground.
Yeah, it's a little
over there.
hunter's camp like Hollins. It ain't
Okay.
got nothing.
I
But it's
didn't
in
know
there, an
that.
old pecan orchard.
Yeah.
And in fact, it used to be an old big barn in there. They tore the barn down, but they left the orchard. And I'll tell you, a guy, he's been in one of my videos, Hattie. You may have seen that video. It used to be in hunting club with us. He was in Lowndes County. And they all went camping. And he said something walked around his tent late one night for a few minutes. He said it had to be two-legged. He listened to it, and he said it brushed up against his tent and everything in that pecan orchard. And he had put his tent up against the wood line. And he said he heard it walk up, and he heard it walk around. It touched the tent, and then heard it walk off. And he said it's bipedal. He said, and then when he asked next morning, any of them got up and go to the bathroom or something, they said no. And so there's one come check them out, you know.
Absolutely.
And but I really appreciate you telling me, Mr. Terry, and that really tell me why you interested in Bigfoot now. And
Yeah, and I
know you've experienced a little bit at Hollins a little bit. So
Oh, yeah.
you've heard the howls and heard some other things down there. So and you're living around here with a bunch of them here.
Absolutely.
I mean, right here where we at, there's been sightings here.
We might have heard one since we've been here. We're not sure about that.
Yeah, it's hard to say what that was back up that hill there. And then whatever that crash was back over here earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if something got thrown in the lake or even sister kind of looked, but she wasn't go look at it. So
No, she's staying pretty close to you. I noticed that.
yeah, I'm wanting to come camp out here.
Well, I'd love to.
We'll have to come camp here one night, and I bet we'd have something come up around us during the night.
No doubt about it.
Make some racket in here and everything. Well, everybody, I'm going to get off here and let Mr. Terry rest from talking. I know he's probably burned out talking about all this. And we love everybody and be kind to each other. And today is November 8th, a Friday. So I don't know exactly when we will release this. I don't know if we'll release it this weekend or first of the week. And you'll probably see another video following this week where I went up on the hunting club with Wendell and gonna show y'all something from there. I'll show you here in just a minute. My phone, I'm gonna show you some stuff here in just a minute, Mr. Terry, that you're gonna say, But I appreciate Mr. Terry. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I think that'll do it today. We love everybody. Everybody be safe and take care, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Well, y'all, when this video comes out, y'all show Mr. Terry some support and everything. Do some commenting. Let him know that you appreciate him sharing his encounters, because he's got a good visual, and then a good intense encounter, and then some others that's dang good. I mean, that island, you can't ask for a better one on that either. I mean, that's pretty good stuff. So, well, I appreciate him being willing to share with me and let me be the one to let him tell his story. And y'all just make comments and let him know you appreciate him sharing it, because more and more people that share their encounters, the more and more we know. So, well, we love y'all, and we'll talk with y'all later. Bye-bye.